Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down, and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. Being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. Gethsemane stands at the heart of Holy Week. For Jesus, it was a crossroads. He had to choose a path, and heaven had to wait while he did. The scripture had been pointing Jesus to a horrific place. Isaiah prophesied centuries before that his face would become so beaten and pulled out of shape that it would become unrecognizable. And so Jesus kneels down and prays to his Father in heaven, "Anything other than this? Is there anything other than this, Father?" And the prospect had him strung out so much that he sweat like blood, drops of blood. But then he utters those iconic words, "Not as I will, but your will be done." He surrenders himself. He surrenders himself to his Father in heaven. He releases control. He lets go. And the follower of Jesus is called to walk a similar path of surrender. We are not, thank God, called to carry the same burden that Christ did, as in his body he held the sin and evil of the world and took it to the grave. But we are called to utter those same words, "Not as I will, but your will be done," and so become like Christ in his death. In the place of prayer, we're to release everything. We're to release our ambitions, our dreams, our fears, our anxieties, our long-held longings, our need for validation, to be well thought of, our need to control. We're not to manipulate others or bully them into seeing things our way, to win the argument or to have our views prevail. We're not to insist on our own way in our families, in our relationships, in our community, and in our world. And when we do not get our own way, we're not to seethe in our hearts and bemoan the folly of others and let bitterness become the sediment of our lives. Rather, we're to let it go, to release both the good and the bad, the noble and the longed for into God's keeping. And then we are free to wake each day and pray, "Help me to love Christ and to love my neighbour as myself," and trust that, as the psalmist says, God will fulfill his purposes for us. A much loved singer sang proudly, "I did it my way." That is not the song of the follower of Jesus, not the song we sing. In the garden of prayer, we are to come to the place where we are content to hand over the reins to God and say, "Your will be done," and so find rest for our souls.